Yo, this is your Coach Renz, and thank you for joining me on this rainy day. I appreciate all my patrons. If you're not a patron, please join me on Patreon. So today is going to be kind of a whole menagerie of conversation, but it all has solid points, a solid understanding, even though it's coming from multiple different things. And part of it is about leadership, part of it is about the NRA, part of it is about the mass school shootings, and part of it is about business, right? And how you vote and your understanding of these politics. You see, right now, you're the dog. I mean, you're the dog, but you're being wagged by the tail, all right? You're being wagged by the tail. You're being wagged by the tail simply because your emphasis when it comes to these mass school shootings, and I am in no way justifying that. That is so crazy. But these mass school shootings, you're being wagged by different tails to keep you from paying attention and seeing what is real and what's not. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. So we know that 2 weeks ago there was a mass school shooting down in Florida, and those kids are going back to school today for the first time. And many of them are concerned that their efforts of marching and their efforts of gun control are going to fall by the wayside, because now they're going to get back into school, things start normalizing again, and people forget. And they're right, because that's what normally happens. But here's the thing. All this focus has been put on the NRA. And all this focus is there's starting to be a little bit of a focus put on the fact that Kentucky now wants to start allowing for the Bible, the Christian Bible, to be taught in schools. These are tails wagging the dog. All right. I know some of you right now, you're saying, nah, the NRA, we need better gun control. We do. I saw a video where a 13-year-old kid goes into a store, he tries to buy some scratch-offs, he can't buy them. He tries to buy some cigarettes, he can't buy them. He goes to a gun show and he can buy a rifle. There are some gun control issues that need to happen, but we got to go to the root, y'all. We get so caught up into symptoms. We get so caught up into after effects. We got to go to the root cause of these problems, right? So let's break some of this down, right? Of some of these root cause of problems, and also the poor leadership. And I'm going to use Georgia as part of the poor leadership example. So first, let's look at the root cause, because I want you to go ahead and get mad at me right now. There are people who are calling for tougher gun control, and the NRA is the main target for that, and how they got their money into the pockets of these politicians, and that's why these politicians won't budge. We're going to come back to the politicians a little bit later, but the fact that the NRA is the one that they're leaning on, that the one that they're scapegoating, they're putting out there to say that we got to get them, right? Now, some places like Dick's Sporting Goods have said they're going to stop selling assault rifles. That has nothing to do with the NRA, to be honest. It's consciousness of that sporting goods company to stop selling the weapons, right? Now, the NRA thrives on gun sales, and I get that angle of it. But curbing the NRA is not going to solve this issue. These kids who are shooting people in schools, they will still get guns. Whether they can go to a gun show and buy them, whether they go to their family house, whether they have a friend, whether they go get it off the street on the black market, one way or another, if they want the gun, they will go and get the gun. So the NRA, do we need tougher gun control? Yes. Do we need better background checks? Should there be a longer waiting period? Should people be vetted? If you're not 21 years old, in my opinion, you shouldn't be able to buy a gun, period. So no 13-year-old should be able to go and buy a gun. Yeah, that video just amazed me when the little 13-year-old boy was able to buy a gun at a gun show. So I do agree that we need to toughen that up. But that's not the root cause of the problem. So even though we can put focus there, we got too much energy focused there. There's a group that has a solution. They believe they have a solution. The first time I saw something about it, it was the little boy. He made a video, I don't know how old he is. I'm 46, so he's a little kid to me. But he was saying that we need Jesus. Okay. Now, I'm not saying or trying to put down the Christian religion. But here's the thing. Everybody ain't Christian. Everybody's not going to submit to Jesus. Is there some good teachings in the Bible about how to treat one another? Sure. Are there some jacked up teachings in the Bible of how to treat one another? Yeah. So I'm not saying that everybody needs Jesus, because we're not a theocracy. This country wasn't founded on God, on the Christian God. This country was founded on blood. All right, it was founded on Europeans coming over here and taking what they wanted from people who were already here. So it wasn't founded on God. And the "In God We Trust" on the money, that came about in the 1950s. So prior to 1950, that wasn't a part of it. And if you can show me in the Constitution where it says that this country is established on Jesus, God, Allah, Buddha, or any other deity, if you can find that, then I'm wrong. But I don't think you're going to find it in the Constitution that this country is founded on God. So, and you may say, well, the Puritans and the Pilgrims and these people came because they wanted religious freedom. That's true. They did want religious freedom because they were being persecuted by the church that they belonged to, but they didn't come here to find a nation. They came here just to escape the persecution. So stop saying that this country was founded on God. And if you say that the laws in this country are based on the 10 Commandments, then I can say that the 10 Commandments are based on the laws of Ma'at. And I can say that the 10 Commandments are based on the laws of Hammurabi. I can say that because it's true. So there's always extra we can go into. But the little boy was saying that. And then Kentucky is wanting to want to bring in the Bible as a study, to a class on the Bible, right? And then people are saying that they took prayer out of school, and you can see a correlation of prayer being taken out of school to violence increase. And you can see that, but that ain't it. It ain't the prayer. I'm telling you right now, it's not the prayer. There's something else that happened rounding about that same time frame. Actually, it happened a little bit before that time frame. That is the actual more of a root cause, and what I believe we need to bring back. And I'm going to tell you that one in just a second. So the school in Kentucky, they want to teach the Bible classes, and I'm telling you right now, Kentucky, I don't have a problem with that being an elective, but the Quran needs to be an elective. The Bhagavad Gita needs to be an elective. The Tao, the Tao Te Ching need to be an elective. All of them. If you teach one, you can't just have one. You got to have multiples. You may not have to have them all, but you got to have multiple, because otherwise you're indoctrinating. And even though you may say it's an elective, if it's the only elective in that category, then you're kind of saying that this school is a Christian school. And unfortunately, for all those people, this country ain't a Christian country, so get over it. It never was. It never, ever was a Christian country. This country has always had more than one religion in it. It may be dominated by one over the other, but that doesn't make it being it. So, I know that's unpopular, but you'll be all right. Now, let's go ahead and hit what I believe is the root cause that we really need to focus on to be able to stop these school and mass shootings. If you truly want to understand a direct correlation to the growth in violence, especially in schools, it's not prayer. It's not the Bible. Because here's the deal. Most of these people, they're going to church. They're praying. Their mom and dad, they're praying. They're going, they got the Bible every week. It's in their house. They go to church. So just because it's not in a school, that's like saying that it's not in your favorite restaurant. It's not on the baseball field. They ain't got nothing to do with it. Prayer ain't got nothing to do with it. The growth in violence in the schools came from the parents losing their power and the teachers losing their power over the adolescent mind. You have to understand that biologically, a teenage boy brain is filled with all his testosterone. A teenage girl is filled with all that estrogen. They have the exact same amount of testosterone and estrogen that adults have, but it's in the mind of a teenager, a kid who lacks the wisdom and discipline to be able to control it and handle it. These kids don't fear, and I mean to use the term fear. I hate fear. I don't like fear. It would be great if we can live in a world where you didn't have to have any kind of fear, but they don't have any respect for their parents. They don't have any respect for their teachers, and the reason they don't, because there's no consequences. I mean, what? Oh, I'm gonna suspend you and make you go home, and while you're at home you're gonna play in your little games, and then we're still gonna send you to work so you can do the work. The only thing I'm taking from you is the social environment, but I'm sending you home so you can just lay around and do nothing. That's not punishment. I'm gonna put you in an ISS class, which if you got up and walked out, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about it? Nothing. Then you're going to tell the parent that if the kid ain't acting right, we're going to take the parent to court. We're going to fine the parent. But you're fining a parent who has no ability to instill their authority. Why? Because you took away corporal punishment. You made pretty much, now I understand some people are being abused, some, but the majority of people are not being abused. I received corporal punishment as a child. I was not abused. I have a huge family here in the Atlanta area. We all received corporal punishment and none of us were abused. So if you count the 20, 30, 70 people in my family here in Atlanta who all go through corporal punishment, went through corporal punishment, and none of us were abused, then you cannot say the mass majority were abused, and you changed it for a few. You changed it for a few. And as the corporal punishment went out the window, the corporal punishment in the schools went out the window, so did the power and authority of the teachers, so did the respect of the students to the school. You've raised a generation, 2 or 3 generations of kids who have no respect, who only got carrots. They never got stick. You see, if you just gave a mule the carrots, if you put the bucket of carrots in front of the mule doesn't walk. The mule doesn't pull its load. It doesn't do its job. But if you put the carrot on a stick and the mule knows that it got to walk to get that stick, to get that carrot, it got to do the effort, do the work to get it, then there's stick and there's carrot. These kids have grown up with no stick whatsoever. So because we got 2, 3 generations of kids growing up with no stick, these kids don't respect authority. Parents don't have their authority. That means the parents have lost their power. That means the school has lost their power. So what is the repercussions of a kid coming in and shooting everybody? You see all these videos of these kids coming into the school, fighting and beating up on their teachers, throwing stuff at their teachers, dipping over trash cans, cussing and yelling at their teachers. My 3rd grade teacher, I don't remember her name, but I can see her face as I'm telling you guys this, and I still feel my ear about to get pulled off my head. I didn't mess with that lady. Mr. Baker had that paddle with the little holes in it, and that thing, whoo, it whistles when it going through the air, and you know it's coming. I skipped school one time. My grandfather caught me, made me run from my house all the way to the school, which is about 5 doggone miles. Made me run up and down some hills. Got to the school. Mr. Baker pulled out the paddle. Whack, whack, whack. Gave me 3 of them. My grandfather said, nah, that ain't enough. That ain't enough. My grandfather took the paddle and tore it up. I didn't skip school no more. I think the next time, I didn't skip, actually, to be honest, I didn't skip school again until my grandfather passed away. And I was in the 10th grade by that time frame. So, no. These kids are growing up with no stick. No stick. So they have no respect for authority. That's your root problem. I'm not saying that kids you shouldn't teach your kids your religion. Teach your kids but your religion say to beat that butt. Your religion say beat that tail. It does. So I'm not understanding how these Christians are running around saying that since this is a majority Christian country, how y'all running around taking corporal punishment out when that's what your book says. So you want to know the real reason? Is there's no stick. These kids aren't receiving any consequences. Because there are no consequences, they're just doing whatever the heck they want to do. Now, another problem that we have is poor leadership. Poor leadership. So I'm going to use Georgia. So Delta Airlines says we're not going to give discounts to NRA members like we used to, because the NRA don't want to participate in curbing this gun, in adding gun control. So the Republican senators and the lieutenant governor of Georgia says, all right, Delta, you want to do that? We're not going to give you any tax discount on your fuel since you want to act that way. Now, here's the thing about that you people who are sitting up here and you want to support these people like Cagle in saying that he's going to kill anything Delta wants to do. You don't understand the financial impact of Delta being the hub here in Atlanta. Delta employs about 40,000 people here in the Atlanta area. If Delta decides to move, because there's a lot of cities that are saying, hey, Delta, come on, we'll give it to you. If Delta moves, you're impacting those 30,000 plus people. And some people may say, hey, there's 4 or 5 million people in the metro Atlanta area. What's 30,000? Okay. The film industry in Atlanta made a couple $1 billion One of the reasons why they're here in Atlanta, not only because of the land, because of the access of the airport. The convention business here in Atlanta thrives because of the airport. Now you take Delta out of that, who's going to come here? It's hard to travel to Atlanta now because you don't have all that hub. So that's all that. So these hotels are going to be affected. Land's going to be affected. All these people who own restaurants, they're being affected. All the people who own restaurants there's like 3-4 terminals that's just Delta. All those people who have businesses and work in those terminals, now their job is gone. The security people, their job is gone. Baggage handlers, their job is gone. All these outside companies that provide food for Delta Airlines, all those companies, now they're taking a big hit and they're hurting. Some of them are going to be gone. Some of them will be gone. There are so many more people. There's auxiliary companies that are attached to Delta, and by one form or fashion, that either is gone or takes a big hit on their income. Why? Because you took them out. You took a major business provider in this city out. And like I said, not just convention business, but visitation, tourism in Atlanta is about to drop. I'm going to give you an example. Y'all don't think that these things matter, but here's the thing that had happened a while back in Atlanta. I think it was around 98, 96, something like that, 96. But when they changed the rules on the strip joints in Atlanta, where you couldn't touch the woman anymore, couldn't touch the man anymore, do you know tourism in Atlanta dropped by like 40%? And I was living in Tampa, so that was in the 90s. But tourism in Tampa increased by that same percentage simply because now they can go get their freak on and touch the person in Tampa, but you can't do it up in Atlanta anymore. So it switched. It switched. And a lot of business was hurt by that. And that's just stripping. That's just stripping. We're talking about Delta, a major player in travel. They're gone from Atlanta. Atlanta hotels are hurt. Restaurants hurt. Transportation industries hurt. There's so much business that's going to leave this city if that happens. But these dudes want to keep it because of the NRA, because of a 4 million people client base that is spread all around the country. They want to support that because the NRA got money in their pocket. They ain't thinking about you. So if you're that conservative guy in Georgia who works at the airport and you're working for an auxiliary company to Delta, you're working security, you're working for Delta, you're working for a fuel transportation company that's fueling Delta, you're working anything that has to do with anything that deals with it, your ability to feed your family is on the line. And why? So that some senators, some lieutenant governor can keep getting money from the NRA. You can talk about principles all you want to, but there's a principle that's greater than the principle of the NRA, being a Republican, and that's the principle of being a man or a woman and taking care of your family. Bringing food home, putting a roof over their head, clothes on your back, taking care of your family. If you want to sacrifice your family for the NRA, then you go right ahead. You're an idiot and you have no idea what true leadership is because you're not leading your home correctly. You see, true leadership is that you're leading as a servant leader. You're ensuring that your family is taken care of, that your community is taken care of, more so than you're making sure that some political person who's already wealthy, who's going to keep going on regardless of what happens. You're more concerned about that. See, you're letting the tail wag the dog. You're letting the tail wag the dog. Every time I see a situation, one of my first questions is, does this take food out of my family's mouth? Does this take the roof off and over their head? Does this take the clothes off their back? How it affects that is what I think about first. Then I think about, how does that affect the rest of the community? Other people's ability to do that. I think about that after that. I don't care if it's Republican. I don't care if it's Democrat. I don't care what it is. That's the thought process, because I'm thinking like a leader of taking care of the people, taking care of humans, instead of you trying to take care of some principle so that you can keep manufacturing your weapons and then selling them. I don't want to take weapons out of people's hands. We just want to make sure the right people have them. And people need to have them, because the criminals can't be the only ones with the guns. The police can't be the only one with the guns. We need to have mutual respect. But these kids, they're going in and shooting up schools. They have no stick. They have no consequences, no idea of it. And in their leadership, what they see in the leadership is keep the guns, keep it rolling, because we got to keep that money. When it comes to these deals, you always got to follow the money. Now, I know some of the stuff I just said is not popular because people are going to say, oh, you know, I was abused as a child. And if you were, I'm sorry that you was ever abused. Nobody should be abused. But there's a difference between getting a beating and being disciplined. All right? I've watched my Marine Corps go through periods of degeneration because the drill instructor got to go even lighter on them. Now, thankfully, the Marine Corps hadn't went too far. But from my understanding, this is what I was told. I haven't verified it, but I'm going to just talk about it. And if it's true, this is some straight bull. From my understanding, in other branches of the military, during boot camp, the kid gets a stress card. And if the drill instructors, if the training is stressing the kid too much, then they can press the stress card, show their stress level to the instructor, and then they got to lay off. What kind of sorry, sad-ass military is that? If you're in combat, bullets flying, you can't press a stress card and then wave it to the enemy and say, hey, Mr. shooting at me, you have to stop because you're stressing me out. You're stressing me out. And we can't have war while I'm stressed. That's not good for my mental health. So, Mr. Enemy, stop. You really think that's good? That's some bull. Any society that allows their military to become weak, like that, weak-minded, is destined for destruction. Destined for destruction. I don't get it. But that's how we've raised these kids. We've raised these kids on, oh, he ain't acting right, so he must have a ADHD, and he must have CMS1, and he got hypersensitive, cold feet, scared, tactical, touch feeling. He got, and she got lucid brain, memory loss, paraphernalia syndrome. We just making up shit. Just making the stuff up that don't even make sense. Just so that, and every kid is on a pill, putting chemicals in them. What you need to put in these kids is a butt whooping. You put some butt whoopings on them from the time that they're born. And that's what I said, from the time they're born. My little kids and little knuckles got thumped at a very early age. But you put a butt whooping on them, teach them respect, teach them that there are consequences. I know my kids' fifth word, by the time they get to their fifth word, the word was consequences. Teach these kids some consequences of their actions, and they will not be in the school trying to beat the teacher. And if the teacher can defend themselves properly, and not like this crazy fool talking about giving the teachers guns, I'm being straight up. As a black man, that scares the hell out of me. Because what that says is that if a teacher is looking at a little black kid who questions the teacher's like, well, my life is in danger. Bam! Shooting the little kid in school now. Nah. There are other ways. There are door lock mechanisms. There are other ways to protect the kids in school when you do have one of these little nut job ass kids who think that they can go in there and shoot up the school. There are other ways to do it. But parents got to take back their authority in the house. The teachers and the principals got to take back their authority in the schools. You parents who are always siding with your little rat children, you need to start siding with them teachers and siding with the principals to make sure that your kid is getting the type of discipline that they need, because when they come out into this world and try to get a job and they trying to work, nah, nobody's going for that. They get fired, and then we'll develop a huge welfare state. So, these kids don't have any discipline. These kids don't respect authority. You got to know when to buck authority and when not to. And a kid in the school shouldn't be bucking the authority of the teachers and the principal just because they feel like it or they got some chemical imbalance in their brain because all these pills you're giving them. They need to get that butt whooped from an early age. So I'm not going crazy over the NRA like some people are. The NRA got their part to play, but their part is minor. It's minor. Gun control, these kids should not be able to buy a gun. That's their part. Kids shouldn't be able to buy guns. Parents should be more responsible towards their kids' access to guns. I'm down with that as far as the NRA. I'm not down with these dumb leadership that wants to punish companies because they don't want to support the NRA and what they're doing. I'm down. I think they're ignorant to sit up here and they're sacrificing your job and ability to take care of your family for that, for them to be able to keep getting that money going into their pocket, which to me is money laundering. But and thinking that religion is the answer. Religion ain't the answer. America was founded by religious people who came over here and through their divine, I forgot what it's called, divine manifestation or divine destiny or whatever, they massacred and murdered millions and millions of indigenous people in the name of religion. So religion ain't it either. Carrot and stick. That's the answer. Carrot and stick. I know some of y'all are not going to support me on Patreon because of this video, but I appreciate you anyway. And I appreciate all my patrons. And if you want to support this channel, then join me on Patreon. And remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable.